everybody, and welcome to our week number 5 Twitch live stream for my intro psych classes. I hope everyone is doing well. It is so much cooler today. It's so nice. It's nice that it's like 80 something instead of 110, 111, whatever. It was almost cold this morning, which is absolutely wonderful in my opinion, instead of the heat that we've been having. But anyway, welcome to our time that we have together. It's week number 5. Hard to believe that we're already past the halfway point of our class, right? Yes, I agree. So much better. I'm very grateful. I was looking at the weather too for next week, and there's like a day where the high is 72. I am all about that. I'm in for it. So anyway, I want to be mindful of your time, so I will stop rambling. But let's go ahead and go over to Canvas together. As I said, we are in week number 5. So if you scroll down, we are right here, right? And so we have passed the halfway point. We're in weeks 5 and 6. Everything from these 2 weeks is due by Sunday, 9/22 at 11:59 p.m. So something to be aware of. A few comments about the last 2 weeks, and then we'll talk about what we have going on this week. So for weeks 3 and 4, we obviously had discussions 5, 6, 7, and 8. I did see a lot of people kind of not quite giving me enough. Just overall on the discussions, if you find that you're losing 1 to 2 to 3 points, try to give me a little bit more. I felt like I put in the comments several times this week, like try to elaborate a little bit more in your responses, or I wanted a little bit more. When we were talking about the dream theories, for example, on discussion 5, some people, like what I wrote in there was like, make sure that you give me a little bit more about the dream theories to show me that you understand them and connecting them to your dreams. So if you lost a couple of points there, that was the most common reason. For discussion number 6, which was related to learning, the biggest reason people lost points on this one was actually the last question. So a lot of you did a beautiful job identifying the US, UR, CS, and CR in the office clip. But some of the examples that people gave me were operant conditioning instead of classical. So anytime that you use the word reward or punish, you're probably in the realm of operant conditioning. So just something to kind of keep in mind. But a lot of you did a beautiful job. Again, continue to elaborate in your responses. For discussion 7 and 8, I loved all of your fun little stories that you came up with. If you had to memorize this 28-digit sequence, thankfully you don't have to do that. But if you had, this would have been kind of a fun activity for you to hold on to it. The biggest reason people lost points here was for giving me the same things. So some of you gave me the same technique that you would use for seconds and also days, or you told me you would make a story, but you didn't give me the story. So again, same piece of advice, just make sure that you're always elaborating. Also, don't forget to reply to a classmate. There are still a handful of people who are kind of consistently forgetting to do that. And I would hate for you to lose those 2 very easy points. The last discussion was related to cognition and intelligence. A lot of you did a beautiful job on this. I enjoyed reading your associations and thoughts about what you think of with intelligence. And those 3 characteristics, right? Reliability, standardization, and validity. There were quite a few people who I said, I wanted a little bit more, right? You gave me the definition, but I wanted you to kind of elaborate a little bit. Some of you did a beautiful job giving examples and kind of talking about them a little more. So just in general, as we pass this halfway point, be looking at your grades and kind of evaluating. If you find that you're losing a couple of points on each discussion, give me a little bit more. But a lot of you are doing fantastic. And I saw a lot of really great scores on exam number 2. The average was like a high B. It was almost an A. The average amount of time was just shy of an hour. So I'm seeing a really great job overall as a class. Of course, continue to use everything as a learning opportunity, right? So if you find that you aren't doing as well as you would like on the exams, study a little bit differently, study a little bit more. Consider doing that study guide. If you're missing points on the discussions, make sure you elaborate and don't forget the peer response. And in order to help you with that, I do have a second self-assessment for this week. And that's going to give you an opportunity to, now that we've hit the halfway point, kind of reflect on what you're doing and how it's going and if there's anything that you want to change. So make sure that you take a few minutes to do that. It's worth 5 points. So not a lot of points and no time limit, but I think it's going to be a great chance for you to kind of check in with yourself as we pass that halfway point of our semester. So we are now in weeks 5 and 6. And again, everything from weeks 5 and 6 is due by the 22nd at 11:59 p.m. So get going on those materials. I'm going to talk about week number 5 today. And then next week when I meet with you, we'll talk about week 6 and the exam and all of that. So our 2 topics for this week are motivation and emotions. So motivation and emotion, 2 very kind of core topics in the field of psychology. I can't help but think of Inside Out and Inside Out 2 with emotions right now. It's kind of a popular movie that incorporates some of those concepts. So as always, for those chapters, make sure you do 3 things. 1, read the chapter in the book. 2, read through the chapter lecture, and 3, watch the lecture video where I'm lecturing to PowerPoint slides. So do those 3 things for both of those chapters. You do have 2 discussions this week, discussion 9 and 10. So let's take a look at those together really quickly. Discussion 9, as always, you have my instructions and my video. Don't forget to watch that for some helpful tips for that discussion. The topic for this week, kind of a lighter one in a way, talking about hunger and diets. So we live in a culture that is a big fan of fad diets, and that's kind of what you're going to write about here. Maybe it's one that you've tried or someone in your family has tried or you've read about, but I want you to report the main components of the fad diet, including how it works, what you're required to do or not do, eat, not eat, and the timeline for results. What are the main advantages and disadvantages? Another way of thinking about that might be the rewards and dangers. And then finally, what role do you think that the media, movies, TV, music, magazines, etc., plays in contributing to the negative self-views that often accompany a desire to lose weight or eating disorders such as anorexia and bulimia? So you'll hit reply, and then don't forget to also reply to a classmate to get those 2 points. Discussion number 8 is related to, oh, that's last week. I'm like, wait, no, that's cognition. We already did that, right? Scrolling down here, discussion number 10 is related to emotions. And as always, again, you have my instructions and my video. With this one, we're looking at all 3 theories of emotion. So what I want you to do is kind of come up with an emotional reaction. And I think the best way to do this is to create a little story or share something that happened. And then you're going to talk about the chain of events that led to an emotional reaction from all 3 theories, the James Lang, Cannon-Bard, and the Schachter-Singer. And that's the biggest thing that I think sometimes people mess up on here is they only do one of them. So make sure you do all 3 theories. So I'm looking for you to say something like, create a story of something happened and you had an emotional response. What were the chain of events from each of the 3 theories? So make sure you describe that, show me that you understand, the order of events for all 3 of them, and that you are more than welcome as well to have fun with it. You can make up a story if you don't want to share a real one. It's totally fine, or even use an example in the media. That's fine as well. The second question, what are some ways to spot a lie? You can reference the lecture or your own personal experiences, but make sure you elaborate and be specific. And then just for fun, if you would like, I did make a 2 truths and a lie video, and I am a horrible liar. I laugh and I smile, but I practiced quite a bit for this. It's a little old. I should make a new one. But using what you've learned in the lecture, see if you can guess which one is the lie. And I will definitely reveal that to you after these 2 weeks have passed. Don't forget, as always, to also reply to a classmate so you get those 2 points. Again, you don't want to be missing out on those. And then don't also forget to do that self-assessment that I mentioned a few moments ago. It is worth 5 points. There's no time limit, and it's due by the end of weeks 5 and 6 on the 22nd. I will post the recording of this a little bit later, of course, and I'll give you that extra credit question here in a moment. A couple of reminders, I did type this up already, so I'll put it in the chat. Please, if you could make sure, since we've passed that halfway point, remember that those subscriptions to Twitch are only good for 30 days. So a lot of you have actually fallen off. if you could take a moment sometime this week or even right now to double check that and renew it if it has expired. I really appreciate those of you who have done that. It saves me some time. Also, if you're looking ahead to next week, let me just pull this up here on my calendar. Okay, so our next week we will have our Twitch live stream. I'm going to put it here in the chat. Our next Twitch live stream will be on Wednesday, September 18th at 12:15 p.m. Okay, so that's when we will have our week number 6 live stream. I will be going over the exam next week and all the materials for week number 6. So I hope that you are able to join me for that. And we're running at about like 15-20 minutes for these. They're short and sweet. And remember, if you're watching this later as a recording, you can still get the extra credit points by being subscribed on Twitch. So again, another reason to go back and make sure that you have that all set up. Finally, let me give you the extra credit question for this week, just so that you can get points for joining me live or watching this later and being subscribed. So this is the week number 5 Twitch extra credit question. What is the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation? Explain and give an example of each. What is the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation? Explain and give an example of each. So when you're ready to answer that, you'll go onto Canvas. And since we're in week 5, you'll click on Twitch optional extra credit number 5 right here. Up at the top, click on Start Assignment to bring up your text box where you can type your response. And when you're ready, hit Submit to get your confetti and hot air balloons. Okay, why not? So feel free to do that. That is worth 2 points. If you have missed a couple of points on a discussion here or there or on the exams, you know, those 2 points for every week will definitely help out and add up. So I hope you're taking advantage of that. Make sure you get going on week number 5. Next week, we'll focus on week number 6. I will hang out for a little bit if you do have any questions for me. Otherwise, again, kind of short and sweet. Just get a chance to go over some feedback and reminders and then give you that extra credit opportunity. So I'll hang out for a little while. I hope you all have a wonderful week as we near the middle of September. Enjoy the cooler weather, and I hope to see you all next Wednesday for our week number 6 stream. So I'm going to minimize the video so I'm not staring at myself. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I will hope to see you next week. Yeah, thank you as well. Thank you, thank you. And again, kind of short and sweet. 2 of my discussions were graded before I did peer response. They should all have been updated. Boulder, Brody, right? And I went through and graded them all. So if you find that it still didn't update, will you send me a quick email and I can go back and check that. So if you can let me know, that would be great. So just send me a quick email and just say, I'm in your 79921 or 79927 class, and let me know which one, and I'll go back and check that. I try to be really good about updating those, but if it didn't go through, let me know. Yeah, of course. I'm sorry for the confusion if I missed it. But yeah, let me know, and I'll go back and fix it for you without a problem. And again, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful week. I appreciate those of you joining me live or even watching it later as a recording. Thank you. And yeah, enjoy the cooler weather. I'm so excited for cooler weather. And I am still, of course, here. If you guys have any, if any of you have any questions at all, feel free to put them in the chat and I will answer them.